All right, so I'm excited to share my buddy John's big brain with everyone today. John V and we connected a while back when I was doing our six-figure accelerator course. We connected through my business partner at the time, Ian, and John's a really sharp guy, and he's been in the agency space for a lot longer than me. And has a lot of, very enterprise and corporate experience, probably a lot more than most of us in here. And so he's got a lot of crazy stories to share, and I'm excited to hear because I don't personally know all of the stuff going on. So with that said, John, why don't you take it away from here, all right?
All right, thanks for the introduction. So let's see, do I have the ability to just share my screen so we can kick into it? All right, so if I click this button, I want it to share over.
I think there should be a share screen.
Let's see how it does it. Over here. All right, can everybody see the title screen? All right, good. I'm going to get rid of the video because otherwise it's going to be really awkward if you see me like going back and forth between the two screens. All right, so excited to be on here. If you have any questions, let's see if I can get, no, I'm not 100% sure I can get chat up. So if you have any questions, put in Slack, hit it up in chat. Oh, I might be able to, there we go. There we go. All right, now I got chat open. Cool. So if you have any issues, throw it in chat. I'll be able to see it. If you have any questions, throw it in chat. Happy to answer them. What we're going to do is we're going to go over, as I would put it, it's like three-step process, and it's a lot more than 3 steps, but it's 3 big pictures on how to rethink about selling. And what I mean by that is, people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. Let's face it. There are shopping malls. People love to go shopping. They love to go buy stuff. But you're walking through that shopping mall, somebody walks up to you from one of those kiosks in the middle, and they start trying to pitch you some silly toy that like you throw it in the air, and it's a ball, and it like flattens out and then turns back into a ball. Yeah, you're somebody like me with kids, and you're like, no, go away, go away. My kids are going to want this, and they're $8 a piece, and they're garbage. They're going to break in a week. My kids don't know that, right? But people love to buy, and they hate to be sold. So let's talk about how to shift your mindset and business to land more ideal clients. So everybody's seen a picture of me. We don't have a picture of me as we get into this. So about me, I'll show you a picture of my 2 little kids instead. Their names are Amy, the oldest, and Isla, the youngest. But I'm, as Matt already alluded to, probably a little bit older than a lot of people here. I'm not 40 yet. I won't be 40 this year. We're getting closer to it. Married man, 2 kids. Started my career in sales, ended up in sales management. I've worked in marketing agencies for about half my career. For the last about 4 years, until recently, I've been in software and technology businesses. And in the beginning of my career, I did some, as I put it, boring industries. I sold industrial cleaning chemicals for a while. I worked in a company that sold to retail, nothing exciting. But so I've kind of been all over the place, seen different things, tried different sorts of stuff. And to give you a little more perspective, so if ChemStation is the first job I ever had. That was the industrial cleaning chemicals. Brafton was a huge agency I worked for. We're talking at its peak 300 employees, just the US alone. Globally, the brands, I think they had over 500 employees at one point. Large company. Crimson Hexagon sells software in marketing. They actually just got acquired by one of the biggest competitors, a huge merger. So they're in social media analytics. But I've been in all these different companies. There have been some really interesting, consistent things that I've seen for the companies that work. And there's also curious things I've seen when companies do stuff that doesn't work. And it hasn't really mattered what industry, what vertical, what product. There are certain things that have made businesses successful versus businesses that aren't successful. So that's what we're going to talk about. So my agency is called White Whale Hunting. For those of you who've been in sales, you might know the reference, because I'm not talking about let's go literally go insane and build a boat and hunt Moby Dick. No, in sales, the white whale is that client that's going to change your numbers, whether it's your quarter or your year. It's that ideal client. And I've kind of spent my whole career for, or at least the last like 10 years, focused on helping salespeople find and land their ideal clients. And since we always called them white whales, decided to, name the agency after that. Part of the reason I'm doing this too is that sales is a grind. I've kind of sat in between sales and marketing for a number of years now. Sales is tough to do it all day, every day. It really is. Whether you're a salesperson, you're a manager, you're a business owner, it doesn't matter. Sales is tough to do all day, every day. Everybody loves closing deals, but nobody likes doing all the hard work. My business came from the idea that I wanted to clone ideal clients, or even help businesses figure out who their ideal client is. And that's going to change over time for a lot of businesses, but ultimately clone your ideal clients. All right. Generate interested buyers. Notice I'm not saying prospects or leads or whatnot. You can call them that, but at the end of the day, I want to help businesses generate interested buyers. People who are going to raise their hand and say, good time to talk. Guide people through a process, not sell them. Oftentimes I refer to it as the buyer's journey. The person who wins typically does three things. There's a lot more things they do, but there's typically three things you see. Number one, they're impeccably honest the whole way, which guides everything they do. Number two, they guide their prospects on a decision-making process. They don't sell them. They help them make the best decision at the end of the day. If you're able to do that, whether you win the business or not, you're going to be respected, and they're going to think very different of you than the people who just try and get them to sign up no matter what. And last, as guides, what they're trying to do is teach the person how to do it. They don't want to just sit there and say, like, I have the secret formula, and if you sign up for us, you're going to get to see it. Smart salespeople, they might, have somebody do a proof of concept or a test. They might walk them through how things will be different. But what they're going to be doing is, going back to that guiding, they're going to be helping that person understand how to do it. And the way I do this for a lot of my clients is I literally tell them what they should do. And I will tell all of you, this may come up again in the presentation. Anytime you're pitching a prospect, tell them what they should do. Because here's the thing, if they're 90% of the way there and you get them the last 10%, you were never going to get them as a client. But because they know you know your stuff, they might refer somebody to you. Everybody else isn't in that boat. And when they see what it takes to be successful and what they want to get, and that you can deliver on it, and the gap between who they are and their skill set and their experience and what they want, or just their time, they're more likely to hire you because they know you know how to get there because you've proven it. So ultimately, that's what you're aiming to do, is teach people, show them how to do it. Show them the path. And then if they can do that, great. You're going to be far more likely to get the business. All of this leads to world domination, but we all get to define our own world. I didn't put it up there because I want everybody to think, let's make the next billion-dollar company. At the end of the day, one of the things I liked about Matt and his program was that he never pushed anything on anyone other than build the business you want. If you want to spend all day working every day, but love the work you do that. If you want to work 3-4 hours a day and make enough to get by, but have a business that supports you, you can do that too. And that was always his philosophy. So it's kind of define your own world, but make sure you go out and you build something that's going to help you get there. All right, so let's talk about a couple people I've helped out and what we did there. And this will be the last of my introductions before we get into the really, really good stuff. So one of my clients was Brooke. She's the managing director of a digital marketing agency over in the UK. She actually runs they do really impressive ad buys for big companies. And the problem they had is smaller companies would approach them and say, can we work with you? And she'd have to say, we cost this much or go away. She was turning down a lot of small businesses. So what she did is she came up with a program where they basically set everything up for the person and they taught them how to run their own ads. But she had never been selling a program. Normally she'd just get clients and they'd work with her and her agency forever. So what I did is I worked with her to help her understand, one, how does she get out of her head as a non-salesperson, as a marketer, and get into the head of a salesperson. And we went through the sort of philosophical things I just discussed, like guiding somebody through a decision. And, when you think of it that way, it's much easier. And by the end of 90 days, she was consistently closing new business. And some of the things we did were tough because we cut like the number of leads she was generating through her own ads, because these people would be, tire kickers and waste their time. People who just wanted to talk. So we did a lot of optimization, but ultimately she was able to start consistently closing business for her new program. And let's face it, if some of these people are successful and they grow their businesses out, what agency are they going to go to expand their digital marketing, right? So another one of my clients who I talk to Tara almost every single day still. Tara is the founder of her own PR agency, and she's also a PR coach. So she does two different things. One, she's like an amazing PR person, and two, a lot of people who can't afford like the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month packages that PR costs, go to her to learn how to do it on their own. So what we did is we worked on how she structures her day and her week and her month, right? And built a LinkedIn outreach campaign to reach really high ticket clients. She pinged me today that she got 3 more applications for her current program, which is, she sold out the first time, but it's $7,500 per person for 2 months. We're in the process of coming up with a plan for how she can sell out her $30,000 a person program starting next year, which she's already got people raising their hands for. But Tara was a phenomenal success story because she was like me, working full-time in a day job and couldn't find a way out of it. She went full-time earlier this year, which is when she, first hired me. And it's been exciting to see her get to the point where, she's going to make it. Her and I talk constantly the way we talk in Empires, in Slack, that really camaraderie, keep each other going kind of relationship. And then one last person I wanted to talk about is, somebody from my startup experience. My original consulting plan and business plan was to work with startups. And Ross is somebody I know. We almost overlapped at one of our employers. He left right before I got hired. I heard about the guy, I wanted to meet him. He was building an inside sales team in a Boston area startup. What happened is they got to a certain point and he's like, I need some fresh ideas. And because we'd been talking, he asked me to come in for a day and sit with the 2 different sales teams. So what we did is just come up with, a general idea that I've seen a lot of different things and I know what works across industries and what doesn't. So we had a great day around that, worked on a bunch of different things with both the prospecting team and the closing team on really just fundamental sales concepts. At the time, he was building a 20-person team. He left that company a little while later and built a 50-plus person team across multiple offices. And the team has kind of taken his brain and put it into an operations role where he can help everybody be as successful as, the teams he builds. So it's been you want Tara in this program. I see your chat, Matt. We can talk about that. Okay, we can talk about that. So let's talk about this. How do you create buyers? Because that's what all of my clients ask me. How do you create buyers? Most of the people I talk to, as you see, they're agency owners, they're professionals. They're not salespeople, but they don't want to sell, right? They want to create buyers. So there are 3 stages to this. Stage number 1, this is something that I heard over and over in 6-Figure Agency Accelerator with Matt, is you have to take the kind of work you do and change it from hourly and projects into products and retainers. And this is even, I've been talking to a prospect this week. I think he's signing on the dotted line this weekend or early next week. But he was asking me, he's been in business 11 years. He runs $1 million agency. He wants to scale it to like $3-4 million. And he said, how do I take what I do? These are the 4 things I do. And I said, well, those are your 4 products. You do digital marketing. Here are your 4 products. And he's like, I don't know about that. I said, yeah, but nobody has to know exactly like the details of them. You do organic, you do paid, you do conversion pages, and you help people with marketing automation. And marketing automation is not going to come up much, but those are the 4 products you have. How we price them is totally different. So, this is a big shift for everybody. To give you an example outside of myself and my client, I shouldn't say client yet. He hasn't signed the paperwork and paid me, so he's not a customer yet. But if you're an editor and people are hiring you to do content and edit their website and edit their blog and edit their books and whatever, and you're doing things by the project or hourly, you're going to be limited by your hours. You're also going to be limited by the fact that people are always going to pay attention to things like your hours. However, what happens when you change it to, I'll edit your book for $10,000. I will edit your, could be an ebook, white paper, whatever, up to 100 pages for $5,000. And I'm just throwing out numbers. If you want me to be your editor for your blog, so basically help you with content strategy and direction and whatnot for you and your team, that starts at $2,000 a month. We've just taken everything this editor's doing in terms of hourly and projects and turned it into products and retainers. So this is the first thing you have to do. If you have questions on how to do this, well, there's a guy who started this group. His name's Matt. I think he's a good person to start with. But I have a feeling most people are already here. This is crucial. If we don't have this, the rest of this doesn't work. So step number 2 is your go-to-market strategy. That's what GTM stands for, go-to-market. I actually worked for the guy who trademarked that phrase, and he did nothing with it legally, and now everybody uses it. So nobody knows he invented the phrase. That was a pretty interesting experience. We will get to that agency later on. So go-to-market strategy, the shift is from how you do it to the results you get. Has anybody in here ever started talking to somebody and they're like, what do you do? And you say, I'm an editor. And they're like, okay, great. Or I'm a writer. Or I'm a digital marketer, right? Or in my case, I'm a salesperson. You want someone to shut up and go away from you? Just tell them you're a salesperson. They will leave you alone unless they're another salesperson. Okay, so nobody cares. Nobody cares. Unless, I mean, if you sit there and say, I'm an actor, they're curious, right? But unless you're one of those professions, you know, I'm an actor, I'm an actress, nobody cares. But if you sat there and said, oh, well, I help business owners clone their ideal clients and find more of them, people are like, oh, tell me more. Even if they're not in business, they're far more likely to say, tell me more. If you're an editor and you say, I help people, you know, make their readers absolutely love their work and wait in anticipation for the next release, people are like, whoa, what do you do? You're an editor, right? But that's what you do. That's the result you get. You know, what I do is help businesses find their ideal clients out there. That editor makes readers loyal, makes them come back. They want to buy the next book. They want to read the next post. They're interested in the next whatever it is. That's a big part of what editors do, is they help make their content so much better so that people love it and want more. So shifting from how you do it to the results you get is absolutely huge in terms of buyers, because people are then curious about the results, but they really don't care about how you do it. And the third stage is lead generation. I have spoken to so many small business owners who tell me that the way they built their agency is through referrals, and it's organic. There's a problem with that. And we're going to talk about my own personal experience with that. But even the agency I spoke to this week, talking to him about it, he said, I have 20 plus customers right now. I have $1 million agency. I'm making 6 figures. I want to make $1 million a year. I can't do that through referrals and organic. And if I build a bigger team and things drop off because it's not repeatable and it's not dependable, I'm going to have to fire people. And I've heard this so many times, talking to freelancers, talking to business owners, talking to even salespeople. Like, I have to say, in my first sales job, I was really good at not prospecting in traditional ways, and eventually caught up with me. Like, at the end of the day, referrals and organic get you to a certain point, but having a system so that you generate leads on a consistent basis is utterly crucial to any business's long-term success. Can you get by without for a while? Of course, you can get by without anything for a while. That goes back to the phrase, an apple a day. Everybody just filled in the second half, keeps the doctor away. I'm a huge Jim Rohn fan, and he used to say that to the audience. Have you heard the phrase, an apple a day? And they all, yep, keeps the doctor away. And he asked, good question, right? What if that's true? And all the phrase says is that a good, healthy habit every day is more likely to keep you healthy. Because then the next thing Jim says is the phrase isn't a Hershey bar a day. I mean, you can have chocolate and candy and you can have fast food. You can have all that. But if that's all you eat, it's going to catch up to you someday. Might be in a month, might be in a year, might be in a decade, might be in 20, 30, 40 years. It's going to catch up to you. And it's the same sort of thing with lead generation. Every sales rep finds this out. If you stop prospecting, if you stop generating new proposals, you're going to run out of pipeline someday. You can't sell when you have nobody to sell to. It's the same thing with business owners. If you're not doing something to consistently generate leads, you're going to find a day where the amount of work you have coming in doesn't match the team size you have, the revenue goals, and the amount of money you want to make anymore. You can have plenty of free time on your hands, but it's not the kind of free time you want to have. So these are the 3 key stages. Shifting your work from hourly and projects, very employee-esque, to products and retainers. Shifting how you talk about what you do, your go-to-market strategy, from how you do things into the results you get to get people interested and curious. And lastly, taking your lead generation to the next level. Not depending on what's just coming to you easily, and making sure you have a system that you're consistently getting good quality leads in through the door. So Matt's going to talk heavily about, products and retainers in his own time. I want to focus on the second 2 stages here, go-to-market strategy and lead generation. So let's talk about go-to-market strategy, since that's stage 2. We have to start with what the customer wants. The customer wants results. So we came up with the products and retainers. They don't want the product or the retainer. They want the results, right? The editor says, I'm an editor. They think I'm, But I make sure people read your stuff and come back for more. That's intriguing. What's the challenge? All right. And the real question here is, why can't they do it themselves? And that's an interesting question. Why can't they do it themselves? They might be able to. I talked to one business owner who has a salesperson for his agency. Now, the business owner could go out and prospect all day and sell all day, but he's at the point where he's got 12 people working for him, and he's got another, 6, 7, 8 who are freelancers working for him. He's got to decide between managing 20 people and going out and prospecting and generating new leads. He's got a salesperson for that, right? So what's the challenge? Well, salesperson's not prospecting. Salesperson wants to just close deals. So there's a challenge that we're talking about. Why can't they do it themselves? The owner can't do it anymore. And he doesn't have the time to kick the salesperson every single day and say, what are you bringing in this week? Same thing with the editor. Why can't someone who's running a site necessarily be the editor? Well, if they're writing the content, it's really hard to edit it yourself, especially at a certain level. The best authors in the world hire editors because they're sometimes not too sure how to cut it all out and make it as good as possible. And it's so hard when you're that close to your work. So that might be what the challenge is. So the question to really answer is, why can't they do it themselves? And the third piece to this is, how do we make it happen? And we all know this. There are 3 ways of making it happen. There's do it yourself, right? And I'll give an easy example. Say you want to build a birdhouse. You want a birdhouse, right? You want to build it on your own, you can do it yourself. You can go watch YouTube videos and read instructions and go buy all the pieces you need, all the wood, the glues, the screws, whatever it is. Put it together. You can go to a class at a store like the Home Depot where they'll show you how to build a birdhouse, right? And so we can teach people to do things. And the last is buying it. Or you can just go buy a birdhouse. It's the same thing with what we do. Courses cater towards the do-it-yourself. Programs where you're doing a lot of meeting and greeting, more towards teaching. What we do as agency owners is typically buying. We are giving somebody the ability to buy an end result. So we got to talk about results. We have to understand why they don't do it themselves. And we have to understand, how do we make this happen ultimately? So one of my favorite authors is David Allen. He wrote books on productivity and how to manage your time. And what I like about him is he's got some ideas that work great, and he's got some ideas that not everybody will stick with, but he's got a really good system. One of the things he stresses is that you can do anything, but not everything. And the key with this is your customers are in the same boat. And at the end of the day, as your business grows, you can grow this as big as you want, but you're going to have to hire other people to do it. And that's why there's all these other resources, like how to hire people and manage them and whatnot, that Matt references. So we have to keep this in mind as we're doing this. Our customers are having the same problem. They can do anything, but they can't do everything. So what we want to do is provide the thing they can't necessarily make the time or dedicate the resources to do. All right. So the sad truth about that agency I told you about before, we had a client where they gave us $200,000. Thank you for upgrading the meeting, Matt. So we had a client who gave us $200,000 for their lead generation campaigns. And we took that and turned it into, that's not $22 million in pipeline. That's $22 million in revenue. Our goal was $4 million. This was one of the most successful teams and campaigns I ran in my entire life. 1 year later, I had to lay everybody off, including myself. We went out of business. In fact, he had been in business almost 20 years. Incredibly accomplished person. And what's really interesting is we were a lead generation firm helping people find ideal clients. And we went out of business. And there were a couple things that happened there. One, we got very dependent on big clients. And we weren't that big. We were 12 people, might have been $1 million tops in revenue, not a very big business. So we got very dependent on 3 big clients. Well, one of them downsized the business. Even though they were doing very well, they kept realizing they had to cut a lot of costs, and they couldn't justify cutting more employees and not cutting us. They felt it was the wrong thing to do. That was a 6-figure retainer. The one we got these results for, we were running out of work with them. They were shrinking the size of the contracts, not because they didn't like us, but because their marketing budget was getting tightened. And we had a third client who was having the same issue. So our 3 big long-term customers suddenly all went bye-bye on us, or at least shrunk. And we didn't have anything to replace it with that was going to keep the business going. So instead of doing everything he could to keep the business afloat, the owner decided to go back to just being an individual consultant after 20 years of building the business. And I tell you this because, we're about to get into lead generation and, what I learned at SaaS businesses and what they did. But that can happen to any business. I've seen it happen. I've talked to so many people where, the company who's looking to sign up with me, he actually said, something's going to happen in the next 5 years that's going to make it so I can't keep doing what I'm doing to get customers, and I need to do something else. And it's just true for everybody. So what did I learn shifting to software businesses, these SaaS startups? Well, they have a model for sales, right? And here's how they think about lead generation, because this was the fundamental thing. Because for those who aren't super familiar with startups, what they're doing is they are coming up with a business plan that they can push forward as fast as humanly possible. But it also involves getting people to give them money, millions of dollars, sometimes tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions. The most funded startup I worked at had just raised $100 million the previous year. They'd raised $200 million in total. Let me tell you, when there's that much money on the line, they're not interested in your feel-good stories. They're interested in how are you going to get from where you are to where they want you to be so that the business is sold or the business goes public. So you need a model. You need to be able to back it up with facts. So first off, you want profitable customers. This seems obvious, but not everybody does it. If you want to make a certain amount of money and you can't either do the work in a certain amount of hours and make a certain amount per hour and get enough customers to do that, or you can't hire somebody to do part or all the work for you and have a good margin left over for everything else you're going to need to do, everything from overhead, taxes, other employees who aren't necessarily contributing to the bottom line, your accountant, lawyer, etc. If you're not going to make much, you're going to go out of business, or you're going to be in severe amount of debt. So profitable, ideal customers is the most important thing to this. If you can't find that and you can't build that, you're done. The second step down is it needs to be scalable, a definable market size. Now, this is a little less important for all of us unless we're trying to build the next agency that's hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, or even like multiple tens of millions of dollars in revenue. You can make a ton of money on a business doing 7 figures in revenue. You can make a ton of money on it. But definable market size is crucial because at the end of the day, if you don't know how big the market is, and it's not overwhelmingly large, and you're going after it, it might be a bad market to go after. And I don't mean like an initial niche. Let's face it, if you say, I do digital marketing, and I'm going to start with all the dentists in the greater Denver, Colorado area, that's okay, because you can go outside of Denver. You can go to other areas of Colorado. You can go to other states. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about market size. It's not your niche market size, it's how big the actual market for your products and services are. So 3 is this a reliable lead generation system? So now we're just talking a little bit more about how we get the leads. We want something that's consistent and getting us profitable leads every month. Not because you necessarily need to generate the same amount of revenue every month. In fact, most businesses see that certain months are much better than others. However, I learned this in my first sales job. I had a month where I just didn't generate much pipeline. Honestly, like it's not that I did nothing to generate pipeline. I did quite a bit, but I didn't do as much as I normally did. Between a couple days off, a couple holidays, and a bad week, suddenly I ended up having 3 bad weeks. And it just set me behind. My next month, not very good. I did close some business, but it really wasn't that good. It's because I wasn't consistent. And so when you're thinking about millions of dollars being invested in a business, you want something that is reliable, consistent, quality, and every single month. So you're always building your business's pipeline. Especially since if you can't do that and you're looking for profitable customers, and you're looking to scale it and grow it, without that, you're done. You're going to have no way of getting to those goals, right? And the last thing is speed. How long is it going to take to build this, to scale this? How long will it take to sell these customers? This is a crucial thing to think about. I once had a customer who ended up being a bad fit, and they were a bad fit because they ignored the speed question. They would take 12 months to sell somebody. Well, when you're helping somebody clone their ideal clients and they've got to wait 12 to 18 months to see the results, let me tell you, they're not going to work with you very long. If you read books on fitness by personal trainers who get amazing results, or you listen to them on YouTube or podcasts, they'll tell you they've got about 3 months to get a client amazing results before that client dumps them. And I don't mean about like getting some sort of results. I mean, like the client has to start to see a serious transformation, whether it's weight loss, gaining muscle, cutting, whatever it is. The client needs to see some sort of significant change. Because what happens is a lot of people do it for 2-3 months on their own, but then when they don't see the results, they're not interested. So how long will it take? Is a huge question to ask when you're thinking about this. If it's going to take you a long time to sell your clients, you're not too sure if your whole model is going to be working. If it's not going to take too long, it's much easier to test it and figure it out. But the same thing with what you're selling. If you're selling something that they're going to have to wait a long time to see the results for, and there's not some sort of like really good benchmark, 30, 60, 90 days insight, and it's going to be a lot harder for you to retain those clients. So speed comes in multifold here. It's absolutely crucial to every single thing we do. So this is the foundation of what we're looking to do with lead generation. And this is what that business, that agency didn't do. We had highly profitable customers. It was massively scalable. We were talking to large companies. For a business our size, there were hundreds of companies we could have potentially worked with. But we didn't have is a reliable way of consistently getting leads. We could sell them when we got enough of them in our pipeline, but we didn't have a reliable way. And that was the really interesting thing, is instead of taking some of our people and say we took one person and told them for half a day a week, you prospect into this list of companies we think we could work with, we probably would have stayed in business. We probably would have had a handful of other cool customers working with us. We might have been a little bit bigger, and we could have at least survived that downturn. Even if it meant a couple people had to go, it was an agency, people turned over all the time. We would have been able to weather the storm. But we didn't have that. SaaS businesses, let me tell you, they are staring at pipeline metrics every day. They're wondering how many leads are coming in through the website, how many leads are coming in through the sales team, how are those leads moving through the funnel, what channels are working better. They have an incredibly sophisticated approach to it. People like us, we don't need something as sophisticated, but we do need something that's reliable. Because at the end of the day, without that, that's where everything falls apart. And that's what my hopefully soon-to-be client was saying to me. He doesn't know what next year is going to look like right now. He knows he's going to make money because he's got enough clients and he knows how to get enough to replace them. But he knows at some point it's going to come back and bite him if he doesn't do something else that is consistent that can help him grow the business. So profitable clients, crucial. How big is the market? Not as big for us, but we just got to make sure it's big enough. Do we have a reliable way of getting leads? Without that, we're going to be sunk at some point. Then speed. Not only can we sell them quick enough, but also are they going to see the kind of results that they're going to want to stay working with us long term? So as we do this, right, and we think about lead generation, there's a great study done by a few different sales organizations. So Outreach and Sales Hacker, which is, Outreach is a SaaS platform that sells to sales teams. Sales Hacker is a sales content community. A couple others, I believe the Bridge Group, which is a sales consulting firm, did a study. And if you're in chat, I want people to type in, 2 out of 3 buyers prefer to be contacted by 2 different channels. And all the other ones get lumped into that last third. Most buyers aren't going to pay attention to them. Does anybody want to guess what the number 1 or the number 2 way of getting a hold of people would be? And by the way, these are the people you're going after. These are business executives. These are people in operations. These are people in marketing. These are the people we sell to. So we got one guess, email. Email shows up somewhere on this. I'm not going to say number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. There are a bunch of other options. Anybody else got a guess? Phone, okay. We got a second guess. Give everybody another moment before I do the big reveal. Social. Face-to-face. All right, in person. We got a couple people who say that. All right, some good guesses. So number 1, by the way, number 1 in every category for every single one of these buyers was email. Number two surprised me because it wasn't a one-to-one video. It wasn't in person. It wasn't the phone. It was LinkedIn. And it stunned me that if you put those two together, almost half were email and about 20% were LinkedIn. 2/3 of people want to be contacted in a way that they control. Think about what we talked about at the beginning. What do people love to do? Do they love to buy or do they love to be sold? Somebody please put it in chat. Exactly. They love to buy. They don't want to be sold. Here's the thing. Email is like somebody perusing a catalog at this point. And to a lot of people, LinkedIn is the same way. And in fact, LinkedIn is like who you are as a professional attached to any sort of messaging you do. It shows not only your experience, but the content you've been building out and your ideas and your thoughts. One-to-one video, it still freaks a lot of people out. I think that's going to be bigger down the line. But again, that's still coming from an email a lot of times. Phone, companies are eliminating phones from desks. If you're not a salesperson, you don't have a phone. To be totally honest, the last company I worked for, a lot of the sales reps used their iPhone when they made their sales calls. They have a desk phone 2 feet away from their elbow, and they're on the iPhone anyway. It was incredible to see. Phones are going away. You want to contact somebody in IT? They actually like the phone if they like the phone, and otherwise they hate it. Marketing hates the phone, period. So if you're contacting marketing, I think marketing, less than 10% of them liked it. Text, forget about it. Facebook Messenger, those things barely showed up. So number one, email. Number two, LinkedIn. Why? Because people get to buy when that's the way that they're communicated with. It gives them the ability to browse and look things up as opposed to being sold. So this brings us to automated outbound. Some of you might be in automated outbound. I am in automated outbound. I signed up as the first partner for this, not because I thought it was the most amazing product ever, but because I'd already sold it. But I couldn't do the automated part super well. I can build out amazing email cadences. I can get you results. But setting up all the technical stuff is a nightmare. And Matt connected me with the program because at the end of the day, he knew bringing me on board would only make it better because I bring years of experience in sales and writing emails to the forefront, and we're going to be able to constantly upgrade what we do. But the reason, Matt created this program and I'm working with it is pretty simple. If email and LinkedIn are the top two ways people want to be contacted, then that's what we should be putting out there. That's what people should be looking to buy. Now, go back. We have to go back. Ooh, this deleted some of the things from my slide, but it's pretty simple. So automated outbound process, there are two other things that I think did not show up on this slide, but I wanted to talk about it real quick. So process is pretty simple. Number one, we need a high value offer and we need to talk about results. So when we deliver an email, we're not talking about like, hey, I'm an editor. We're saying, I help you deliver the kind of content that's going to get people to subscribe, come back, and refer their friends. Those are the results they want. The second thing that we do is targeted messaging. Now, this is a technical term, but it actually makes really good sense when I walk through what it is. There are three types of emails: templated, targeted, and tailored. Templated is basically marketing. Nothing wrong with marketing, but there's nothing personalized for the person. It doesn't feel like it's coming from anybody to anybody. And that's huge. People, that's like a catalog that they look at, throw in the recycling or garbage right away. Tailored takes a lot of work. Tailored is hard. You're looking at somebody, their website, their profile, and you're customizing a message to them. It takes a lot of time. Not very scalable. Targeted, however, is taking the best of templated, which is something you can send to multiple people, but customizing in a way that feels like it's being written for that person. It's definitely not tailored, but you're talking about the same sorts of challenges and problems that you would in the tailored message with the same sort of results that people are interested in. The next thing we do is a cadence strategy. Now, what's a cadence? A cadence is how many messages do we send and how often do we send them? And that's something that's not particularly sophisticated if you've done it, but if you've never done it, you're not too sure when you should send that second and third and fourth, and should I even send a fifth or sixth or eighth email? So that's something else we do. And we ultimately tie it all together into a service that delivers messaging to people via LinkedIn and email to get them interested into wanting to work with our clients, right? Now, who should not be interested in automated outbound? Number one, you have a long sales cycle. We talked about speed, all right? The one client I had this fail with had that 12-month sales cycle. After about 4 or 5 months, we'd both had it. I didn't want to work with them anymore. They didn't want to work with me because we didn't know if it was working or not. And we weren't going to know for another year. So if you have a long sales cycle, you have a sophisticated service that takes forever to sell, this is not a good fit for you. Number two, if you're selling B2C services and products, that's kind of like coaches, or that's if you actually sell physical products. This is not going to work very well for you. Could it? Yes. I don't necessarily recommend B2C. Which ties into the next one, courses, events, programs. If you're pitching that, a lot of times that needs to be a relationship you build up over a long period of time. Now, if you're selling large programs to corporate companies, that's totally different than selling my 12-week program to be a better digital marketer. All right, so keep that in mind. When I say courses, events, and programs, I mean if you're selling big events and big programs and training and whatnot, like a real consultant or a real trainer would do, that's totally different than the one-to-one. So keep in mind, if you're doing person-to-person, not the good fit. You're going corporate, could work. Last thing is, hey, if your lead generation is good enough, in your head, it's good enough. At the end of the day, we didn't build this to sell it to everybody. We built it for people who are interested in making sure that they have a scalable, repeatable way of generating new leads. Now, who is this perfect for? Talented agencies relying on referrals, organic, number one thing. That's who I talk to all day, every day. That's who I'm looking to talk to. People who just don't want to depend on that network and they want to make sure that they're able to hit their numbers and grow. Agencies looking for predictability. Like I said, 17 years in business, 18 years in business, and we went out because we didn't have a predictable flow of lead gen. Gone like that, as good as we were. Agencies looking to grow and scale. So this is the person I've been speaking to this week regularly. He's got $1 million agency. He wants to make $1 million a year. He's not going to make $1 million off of $1 million of revenue. He wants to grow the business, 3x, 4x, big time. I think 4x is his number. Totally think we can help him get at least part of the way there, if not all the way there. Your ACV is at least $2,500. Let's be real here. I think it should be over 10K. And by the way, that's thinking in terms of retainer. If you have a $2,000 a month retainer and somebody works with you on average 12 months, that's a $24,000 ACV, annual contract value. And then lastly, agencies looking to do amazing work. Now, why do I put that in there? It goes back to the David Allen quote. You can do anything, but not everything. If you want to focus on doing amazing work, the last thing you want to do is spend your time prospecting. So here's the thing. What does it consistently lead to? Confusion, frustration. What's going to happen tomorrow? The agency I worked for closed after almost 20 years. The one that's still open to this day has a very consistent way of generating leads. The one I've been talking to all this week, he's been in business 11 years. He makes 6 figures. He has $1 million agency. He's used to the world of inconsistency. Another one I spoke to, he's been in business about 5 years. When he was doing the lead generation, it was consistent. But now that he's not, it's not consistent. And while he's pretty comfortable with his business, he needs to find a way to bring it back to consistency. If you're sitting here now saying, I've got it all under control, the question isn't, do you have it all under control now? The question is, what are your goals? And can you prove mathematically, like those startups, that you're going to be able to get there? Because if you can't, well, do you think you'll need another game plan? Personally, I'm not leaving any of this to chance with the way I'm building my agency. So if you're interested in talking and hearing more about automated outbound, we've got a little bit of a special offer for you. And I'll explain in a moment. We're going to go through it, but then I'm going to explain why this is special. So if you're ready to build the next empire, you can automate your outbound with us, starting at just $2,000 per month. Now, I don't know how all of you feel about that number, but let's dig into the specials, and then I'm going to explain why that dollar number, without any of the bonuses, is a steal. So I twisted Matt's arm because I know his original pitch included this to his first group. And I said, we've got to do it for everybody in Empires, just once, because we're not going to offer this again. Matt's probably chuckling right now, like, yep, we are never going to offer this again. So as long as you're a member of Automated Outbound, yeah, see, Matt just typed in chat, true. He knows he's never doing this again, because we know we're going to have the case studies by the end of the year.
Oh, yes.
So first up, Empires. As long as you're a member of AOB, Empires is free. It's a pretty cool community, if you ask me. I haven't been in it very long. I really dig it so far. If you're enjoying it, your membership is part of the program. Next up, 2 of Matt's programs, hiring referrals for your remote contracts and training to build your systems and hire virtual assistants. We've got the Slack channels. We've got the programs. He will charge somebody $12,000 a year for that. Comes with AOB. 3 months of weekly sales coaching calls through our programs. Let me tell you, I do sales coaching. I don't charge this much yet. I can't wait till the day I get to charge it. But sales coaching is not cheap. Sales training, top sales trainers charge customers, and they have dozens of them, 6 figures for annual sales training. Multiple 6 figures, if not 7. Sales training is expensive. We're including it in this. This is the one I had to ask him if he'd really, really be willing to do. So whether or not you can make it, if you sign up for AOB, we will give you a free ticket to the next Different Hunger Mastermind. I don't know if I can personally make it. I really want to go. I'm not in the best place in my life to go. Wife, kids. Matt, if you want to bring it up to New York, it'll be no problem. But if you want to keep it in Columbia, it'll be a little tough for me. If I can make it, I'm going to go. You join the program, you got a ticket. All you got to do is find a way to get to the program, man. And I know people went to the last one because some of them were in 6-figure agency accelerator, and they said it was fantastic. They took away so much. I'm watching Jonathan Maxim like crush his business now. And when I was working with him, it was like this little baby. And I just sit there and think, he had the time to make it that. And that's what I'm looking to do with my business now. It's incredible what people walked away from that program and having that weekend. So let's look at some of the results we're getting, right? And I'm going to say this is potentially atypical, but this is like 100 messages a day. So good amount of volume, 8 leads, almost all of them turning into sales calls, and almost half of them turning into deals. So if you're sitting here looking at this saying, Jonathan, that's not going to happen. You're going to send 500 messages a week, but I'm not going to get 2 sales calls a day. Cool. No problem with that. What if I told you your agency will have over 100 sales calls in 2019? Now that's 2 a week. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up is price that out somewhere else. I can do the math for you. In the chat, I want somebody to guess how much it costs to hire an agency that has 22-year-old, 23-year-old, fresh out of college kids, making cold calls and sending cold emails for them with zero sales experience. You want to hire one of those people full-time, how much does it cost per month? By the way, they'll get you about the same number of meetings as this program. Somebody guess how much that kid's going to cost. Okay, $5,000 a month. One guess. We do have a good story with this. Don't worry. Wow, Matt makes us pay for Chipotle. Of course, he'd make us pay for Chipotle. That's you, Matt. One more guess. Okay, 2K, 7K. Here we go. Apoorva's closest. So I've paid for those 22 and 23-year-olds. It's $6,000 to $7,000 a month for one 22 to 23-year-old with no sales experience, sitting around other 22 to 23-year-olds with no sales experience, getting paid nothing. The best ones leave almost instantly because they realize they can make more money elsewhere. So we once hired 3 from one of these agencies. For 6 months, it cost us just over $100,000. See, why would you pay them that much? Because you're paying for the agency, you're paying for the management, they're paying for all the software, the licenses. Unfortunately, that's just how much it costs. That's a good question in chat. You're paying for a lot of different things. That's why it costs $6,000 or $7,000 a month for a person. By the way, hourly starts at $50 an hour. So if you had a full-time employee doing that, it's a lot more money. So understand, if you go hourly, it's even more. So the best ones leave. So we had 3. Cost us over $100,000 for 6 months. The first one we had sounded drunk. The second one was okay, not the brightest. In fact, people I've talked to about him said, I'm surprised they put him on your account because your account is too complicated for him to sell. The third one was good. So basically, we got 1.5 people's production for more money than it costs us to have internal employees. You can opt out. You can opt for $50 or plus an hour cold calling services. If you buy leads, you buy sales meetings, they start at $500 a piece. And I know this because I bought and sold them before. I've actually sold meetings for $2,000 a piece. So $2,000 a month, you will have over 100 sales calls in 2019. Could be a lot more based on some of the results we're getting with a few agencies. So if you apply, we're going to keep this open to Monday. How is my program different? How is our program different? I will get to that in a second. I'm going to go over this, and then I'll say exactly how this program is different. So if you apply today, you will lock in that rate, whatever your rate is. So it's different depending on email, LinkedIn, etc. We will guarantee that rate for all of 2019. The rates are going to go up probably by January 1. Like, we've all started talking about this. One of my mentors and someone I used to work for told me this should cost at least $3,000 a month. He would potentially pay $3,000 a month. The bonuses, we'll keep that open till Monday as well. Empire's community for free if you sign up, plus all the other bonuses. Matt's programs on hiring and training, remote employees, virtual assistants, sales training, and that free mastermind ticket. We'll keep it all in there. You're going to get 100 plus sales calls in 2019. It's going to happen. No reason why we can't get those results. Apoorva is probably laughing that I put such a low number on there, but I want to make sure we're realistic here. We're going to get you at least 100 sales calls. I will give everybody who signs up, or at least applies, a 1-hour sales consulting call with me. Not going to charge you for it. Normally, to sit down and talk to me, like a one-call thing, I would charge at least $500. I'm going to do it for free. Not to sell you either. I'm literally going to help you sell better. Like, that's how much I care about this community. Pricing starts at only $2,000. Monday, end of day is the deadline. You can contact me if you're interested. Great question in chat. How is our program different? Here is how it's different. Number one, it's not 22-year-olds doing it. Number one, the people who mastermind this, if you work with me, are myself on the sales strategy end and Apoorva on the technical end. Now, Apoorva's done sales and sales management jobs out in Silicon Valley. I've done them here in the Boston area. Two of the most intense sales environments that exist in the world. We've had quotas and numbers put on our head that make people's heads spin. This isn't some fly-by-night program where it's management selling the services of 22-year-olds who show up for just enough money and beer. That's what a lot of those agencies are. This is not, we're charging you by the lead, which gets expensive. This is not a certain amount of money per hour. This is, we can provide a significant amount of value, and we can do it in a way that works for us, that also makes our clients an awful lot of money. And just so you know, the person who I believe is going to sign up, who gave me a verbal yes, he's getting 0 bonuses. He didn't even flinch at $2,000 a month. Didn't flinch. I think if I had said $3,000 where I want to price this, he wouldn't have flinched. And I'm not just saying that, like, he didn't flinch. He's excited and ready to go. So I think we should open up to more questions. If anybody has questions that would be helpful to help people make a decision on whether or not they want to throw their hat in the ring to at least talk further about it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So any question, by the way, it can be about automated outbound. It can be about anything I went over in the presentation. Happy to answer any questions. You can put them in chat. You can take yourself off mute. I'll even put my pretty face back up. At least that's what my wife tells me. It's a pretty face. Any questions? Matt, you found that helpful? Matt doesn't know a lot of my stories. He knows I've been trying to build this agency for a while, and he knows I'm just willing to go for it at this point, but that's what he knows. He doesn't know all my crazy stories. We haven't even gotten to the craziest, but that's not appropriate for this sort of, that's not appropriate for this venue. All right, anyone? If you have questions, if you're interested, just message me on Slack. Let me know. I'd be thrilled to talk to you about it. If you just want to jump on a call anyway for the heck of it, because you're curious, let me know. Happy to do that too. Like I said, if you're interested in this and you just not sure, I'll still talk to you. I'll still give you my advice on how to run a better sales call. Listen to calls if you want to. Give you advice on your sales processes.
Yeah, thank you, John. And guys, share your feedback for John. Let him know what you found helpful. Let him know what you have questions with.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I know that. All right.
Just go on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I think we're good then.
All right.
Everybody, thanks for coming.
And Diacre. Kardakai, what did you guys think of the train and any questions? What's up, Ed?
Edwin, I'll be truthful. I'm just starting out, but this is helpful. We're all somewhere on that journey, man. You know, I won't lie. I left a disastrous, but I left a well-paying corporate job to go for it at this point. I know Matt was disappointed when I didn't do it last time. He gave me a funny look. I don't blame him. I'm really excited to be going forward with this. Yeah, Matt's smirking because he knows. He's like, you should have gone for it a year ago, Jonathan. Now we got both of them in the picture. That's so creepy. All right, guys. Hey, if you have any questions, you ever want to talk shop about sales, obviously ping me on Slack. If you're interested in learning more about